Tom Willander has been flying up the draft boards. Today we have Patrick present from Inside the Rink on to profile the Swedish defenseman and why he might be now out of the reach of the Sharks at pick number 26.
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast of your favorite team in the Bay Area. Proudly a part of the Locked On Network, where we cover your team every day. If you want to be an everydayer, all you got to do is just follow along or subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. So have another draft profile today, Tom Willander, a Swedish defenseman. So really fun conversation with Patrick. So he makes his Locked On Sharks debut. Had a really good profile I found on his on the website Inside the Rink. Loved his profile. Tried to decide to get him on. So makes his debut, his podcast, or at least Locked On Sharks debut. So Willander, though, really, really intriguing defenseman who might be moving up into the early 20s, late teens now. So he might be just out of reach, but you never know how the draft board lays out. So, and if he's there at 26, I think the Sharks are going to have a really, really interesting conversation about whether to grab him or not. So without further ado, let's get into it with Patrick. And now we bring on for his Locked On Sharks debut, Patrick present. He writes over at Inside the Rink and also is on the Late Arrivals pod. He's a Ducks fan, but we wanted to bring him on because to talk about one Tom Willander. So if you don't know about Tom Willander, he is a 6'1" defenseman, 179 pounds, playing for Rögle BK in the junior 20 league over in SHL. Last season had 39 games, 4 goals, 21 assists over in that league. I think he got a slight taste of the SHL life at the end of the season. So as we start every one of these, what makes Tom Willander so intriguing?
So first off, thanks for having me on. I love the series that you're doing here, and just to be included with a lot of the scouts you've had on is really cool. As far as Tom Willander goes, the thing that intrigues me the most is how he shot up draft boards and as the seasons progressed, and especially highlighted by his U18 World Tournament. He really he had 3 goals and 5 assists in 7 games in that tournament. But what stood out to me the most was his ability to kill rushes and breakouts almost single-handedly with his instincts and skating ability. What stood out the most watching him in that tournament, especially that gold medal game against USA. I was watching that tournament for the guys at the top of the draft, the Smiths and Leonards and all that, and then this guy just keeps killing every breakout. So he's like pinching down the wall, and his gap is incredible. He's such a good fluid backwards skater that he's basically single-handedly shutting down rush attacks, and then when he picks up the puck, he just moves it up so quickly. If you hear people talk about Austin Matthews or Connor Bedard in there and how they have a great release on their shot, I see the same thing with Willander and how he moves the puck up the ice. Like he just leans on that stick and can snap it up ice so quickly that it just caught my eye a lot. And it was really fun watching him in that tournament. So, that's what, intrigued me the most about him.
All right. So, there's plenty of type of, like, you have your kind of variety of defensemen, right? You have your Erik Karlsson defenses for nerds, go score a bunch of goals. You have your kind of two-way can do a little bit of both. You have your shots. Where does he kind of fit into the kind of defenseman spectrum?
So I think he is the epitome of two-way. I
Mm-hmm.
think he's not quite as dynamic as he doesn't have the dynamic ability that Erik Karlsson or Quinn Hughes and those kind of guys have. But his moving the puck from the back end, I think, is uh, really it's an ability that is necessary in the NHL
Yes.
today, especially. And then, like I said, his just ability to shut down rushes, and I just think he on the surface he's like a jack of all trades kind of defenseman.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I like to do like player comps, so like these two-way guys, Damon Severson and Jonas Brodin, like that kind of. So a
Mm-hmm.
3-4 defenseman, I think. But a guy that I think a lot of teams covet.
Yeah.
So I'd say two-way is the perfect way to describe him. Not to say that he suffers on either end,
Mm-hmm.
offensively or defensively. Offensively, I like the way he maneuvers the blue line. Uh, he loves to open up his hips as he walks the blue line to freeze the attacker and open up lanes for himself. And then, like with his passes, he's able to get shots through, and they find sticks or they get through to the net, which is what led to his point totals in that tournament. And then he's capable in the defensive zone as well. He's good at this new man-to-man system that a lot of teams are running. So he sticks on his check and doesn't allow passes to that guy, and wins a lot of battles in front. Good at like anticipation and stuff like that. So I think I like to call him a jack of all trades kind of player.
All right. So as he continues to progress and moves forward, what do you think is going to be the one skill that kind of makes him an NHL player?
Like I keep saying, it's that ability to defend the rush,
Mm-hmm.
and to kill these breakouts in his offensive zone. If you We just got through seeing the Carolina Florida series, and those teams are very heavy forechecking teams,
Yep.
but they're very that defenseman activating on the wall to cut off those breakouts to the wingers. They're very, very important. So I think that's his biggest skill, is anticipating when that puck is going to get to that winger, so he can get there and break up that play. And then defending the rush, like I said, he's such a great skater. He just patrols the neutral zone so well, if that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense.
Yeah.
So he's I don't know if you've seen Talladega Nights, Will Ferrell.
Yes.
There's a scene in when Sacha Baron Cohen's character comes for his first NASCAR race, and they're like, "Wow, this guy's incredible. His car is 3 lanes wide."
Yeah.
And that's immediately what stuck out in my head when I'm watching Tom Willander, is that he makes himself like 3 lanes wide, so he can kind of dictate where he wants the attacker to go on defending the rush. So like if he wants to force him to the boards, he just like takes a step to the middle, and they can seal him off so quickly. Or if he has back checking help, he can kind of take away the outside and like kind of steer them that way. So I think that's what is super impressive to when watching him. That's what really stuck out, is that he makes himself 3 lanes wide.
That's a great reference. And if you haven't seen Talladega Nights, there's something really wrong with you.
Yeah.
All right, before we continue with Patrick and we talk about kind of where Willander would fit with the Sharks, kind of where he would play, why his style and kind of really helps out with whoever his partner would be, do need to take a quick break. Talk to you guys about our good friends at eBay Motors. And you guys know, for a championship team, it's all about making sure that every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With the eBay Guarantee Fit, you can make sure your part fits right the first time around. All you got to do is just put your ride in the My Garage. That way, and then look for the green check mark when you pick a part. That way, it'll fit or your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game. And when you shop on eBay Motors, and with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win with the right parts are guaranteed. So get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay guarantee fit only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. So, we talk about all the great stuff about him. What do you think is the one thing that might hold him back? What do you think is the one thing that he needs to really kind of work on as he continues to develop?
Yeah, a couple things. I think offensively, you see how his teammate ASP, another draft eligible, he's so dynamic with the puck, especially in the offensive zone. His vision is so precise, especially when he picks up the puck at the point and like moves down the wall into the offensive zone, and he's like just his scanning ability. I think Tom Willander needs to work a little bit on that as far as his playmaking lower in the zone. He's so good at the blue line, but once he moves with the puck lower in the zone, he needs maybe to work on a little bit of where he goes from there. You know what I mean? He kind of like
it's kind of like, I don't know what to do with my hands.
Yeah, right.
Right. No,
He'll take some risky chances or throw a bad shot on net, or just make a safe play. But I'd like to see him explore a little bit more of that kind of creativity. And then in the defensive zone, I think, like I said, he's so good positionally and he's so good at anticipating. But I would like to see him work a little bit more on his snarl, like get a little meaner. Because I think
grit, intensity, as the kids like to say, the grit.
Yeah, we a lot of people make fun of the like old school hockey fan, but you see in the playoffs, you kind of need that at some point. Even guys like fellow Swede Rasmus Dahlin, like he has some snarl,
Yeah.
I think but that's also a maturity thing. I think as he gets older, he might develop that, and as he plays against older competition, I think he's going to have to. But I think right now he likes to defend a lot with his stick. Not to say that he doesn't play the body, but I think he needs to get like a little more intense, I think, when engaging low in his zone. So I think those are two areas where I would like to see him improve a little bit, and I think that will unlock a lot of potential as he develops.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So his kind of development is kind of weird because it looks like he's supposed to, at least from Corey Pronman, said that he's supposed to come play college, and you don't really see a lot of Swedes. Like they usually kind of stay in the SHL, kind of develop there, especially because you're playing against grown men. But he's going to be coming to college, playing for Boston University. If that is the case, what do you think about his, coming over to America early as a defenseman?
I love it a lot. I think that there's a lot said about the big ice, but I think it makes a difference as far as your angles.
Yep.
Especially for a defenseman, where angles are so important, and especially a defenseman like him, right? Who that's his game. His game is to seal guys off, right? And I'm not familiar with his like personal life, but to get a taste of the culture, I think is really cool. He gets in front of, he gets to have a pipe or he gets to have communication maybe with his NHL team. I like that move for him a lot. I think a lot of, I don't know about a lot of, but I know it's becoming a little more popular. I just covered Maxim Sturbeck, who's a Slovakian defenseman who's going to be he came to the USHL for his draft year, and then he's going to go to college as well. So, I think it's really cool if that Willander's doing that, and he's going to adapt to the North American ice and play style too. So, I like that as a development route for him, and I think it's unique. And hopefully, like we can see, like we'll get to be able to see him more too, because
yes.
which is cool too.
it's not going to be at some ungodly time in the morning to watch him. You can
Right.
actually like watch him, type of thing. And two, like we know the North American game is a little bit more kind of physical than what we see, especially in the SHL. And that's something that he needs to work on. Even in college, you kind of see a little bit more of that physicality. So if that's the thing he needs to work on the most, or one of the things he needs to work on a lot, like the most, hopefully that's kind of one of those, you're going to have to adapt to survive type of situations for him as well. So this might be one of the kind of perfect opportunity for him, right?
Yeah, I think watching college hockey, it's pretty nasty. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think especially because in tight quarters, and a lot of guys, it's not juniors where it's they caps out at 20 years old. These are
Yeah.
20 to or
24,
19,
yeah.
24-year-olds, 25-year-olds, like these super seniors, right? So
Yeah.
you're playing against grown men who are they're
A little bit more
physical,
mature.
and
Yeah.
for sure. So I think if his coaches or whoever is advising him is saying, I think if they're seeing what I'm seeing, where that's what he needs to work on, then I think that's a really fun route for him to take. So yeah, I like that.
All right. I know I'm going to have to, now we're going to ask you kind of, I know you're a big Ducks fan. I know you guys have just plethora of defensemen just oozing out. You don't even need Henry Thruns in the world. You're just like, we have a bajillion defensemen. We don't need. But I mean, the Sharks have, especially since Mike Grier has been there, he has done a lot to try to revamp this pipeline for the Sharks, right? Acquiring Shakir Mukhamadullin, the Timo Meier trade, Henry Thurn, they got from the Ducks, et cetera, et cetera. Where does, kind of he fit? Where would Willander potentially fit in, you think? I know, again, kind of putting you on the spot here with a lot of potential Sharks defensemen. Where do you think he would kind of fit in with their pipeline?
Well, I watched a lot of Henry Thrun at Harvard, and I like thinking years down the road here. I like that as a partner for him. I think that'd be I think they would complement each other's games pretty well. They're both two-way guys, like a middle pair of those two, or I think that'd be a great pair. If that's the route they want to take. I don't know, you guys. Your right-handed defense.
It's none. You could if you're right-handed and you could skate, you could probably make the Sharks right-handed defense right now.
You're right. But I think what he would bring is not just a stabilizing force, but a disruptive force. So I think he can fit in anywhere. I think he can fit in with a more offensive player on the left side, and then those two can be kind of like the dynamic puck moving pair, or he can be the more offensive component to a shutdown line. Think like Gustav Forsling in Florida right now, paired with Aaron Ekblad. I think that could be a similar comparison. So I would like to see him with a Thrun or a Ferraro, maybe. I don't know, but or a Mukhamadullin too. But if a team is starved for right-handed defense prospects, this guy can fit in anywhere. Honestly, I think he can be a very good complement to a true number 1D, or he can be like a part of a good shutdown pair. So
makes sense. All right, where do you kind of see his kind of timeline, right? Especially if he goes to college, we're seeing guys, it feels like it's either 2 years and they're done, or it's like the full 4 years type of situation. You think he's going to be one of those guys? You probably, especially if he does go to college, he's going to probably stick around college for a while.
I would picture him as a 2-year guy. I think just because his frame is, he's 6'2", 180, so he needs to bulk up a little bit. But his game is pretty refined. I think he plays the pro style game right now. There's not much adapting he needs to do other than just to play against stronger competition,
On
physically
smaller
stronger
ice.
competition.
On
Yeah,
smaller
on smaller ice.
Yeah.
But I think if he picks that up quickly, I think there's a shot he could be a 2-year guy. I don't, that's kind of the route I see him going. Just because his game is so pro ready, I think, if that makes sense.
All right, before we finish up, and Tom, 3, 2, 1. All right, before we finish up, and Patrick gives kind of some of his favorite guys that he likes at the end of the first round, I do want to thank you guys for making the Locked On Sharks your first listen. Again, proudly a part of the Locked On Network, where we cover your team every day. If you want to be an everydayer, just come on back tomorrow. We're going to have another draft profile. So make sure you guys are following along wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. So let's kind of take a step back into some of the bigger draft talk here. So we know the Ducks, Sharks, both going to be kind of picking around the same spots here. Yeah. So what are some of your guys that you like kind of at the end of the first round, beginning of the second round, guys that you're kind of banging the table for here? So whatever you want to, if you want to go forward, defense, you have the floor. Which guys kind of float your boat?
Well, I think we've seen GMs are a little biased toward centers and D, especially bigger ones, that a lot of these smaller wingers are just naturally going to drop because those guys are, the centers and Ds are, the GMs are going to reach for those guys. So I love Gavin Brindley. He from Michigan. He's one of my favorite players. I think when GMs talk about, or scouts talk about compete, I think that guy's all compete. He's 5'9", 160-ish, but he plays like he's 6'5", 220. Like, he throws his body around and isn't afraid. And he's got skills for days. He was Adam Fantilli's line mate. And he put up good points, but I think his game is centered around forecheck, back check. He's so fast. He's so good on his edges. I think looking at the list here.
With Gavin Brindley, really quick, that's like you say that, right? The compete and the skill. And that's something the Sharks have said that, right? Mike Grier has said, we want guys who can compete. Like, everyone kind of automatically says Mike Grier wants guys with size, but I think you want these guys who give it their all every type of shift. And Gavin Brindley seems like like you said, if he was, 6'2", we'd be talking about him as a potential top 10, maybe top 5 type of pick in this draft. Just because he's 5'9", this guy is a monster out there. You saw it in the NCAA tournament, and then even all year long too. He kind of, whatever they asked him to do, he was able to kind of fill in that role for him. And I love Gavin Brindley. I have no idea where he's going to get picked. You could tell me he could go 15, and you could tell me he could go 45, and I would be like, yep, that makes sense to me.
I think Grier and Pat Verbeek, I think, are similar in that, because if you look at, Verbeek says he loves guys who compete, right? That's the best buzzwords, compete. But the draft, the guys he drafted are all 6'2" and up. But if they truly like these guys that compete, Gavin Brindley he oozes compete, right? He, just watching, because I watched a lot of Fantilli, obviously.
Yep. Humble brag.
But they're honestly, watching the two of them play together, they're very similar. Mm-hmm. Just one is 6'2" and one's 5'9", right?
Yep.
They're both in on the forecheck. They both have a ton of skill and underrated back checkers as well. So I love watching Gavin Brindley play hockey, and another guy is another small guy would be Andrew Crystal. On skill or on ice sense, he's a top 15 talent easy, but again, he's 5'9", so I think he's going to fall a little bit. So he might be able to be had at the end of the first, beginning of the second.
I was going to say, how about some of the defensemen? Because there seems like a whole mess of these defensemen that are kind of really close together, right?
Yeah, there's that cluster of
Just
like Dragicevic and Bonk and those kind of guys. Um, I just I have I have a hard time with defensemen because they're ranked is, you know, as bubble guys, but we've seen GMs reach, so it wouldn't surprise me to see these guys that, in the 20 to 25 range.
mhm.
But they're great all around players. Well, Dragicevic is an offensive dynamo, but
I do love me
I don't know
some
if I'm saying his
Dragicevic.
name right. But yeah, I think that's a great target. And Bonk's a great target as well. I think I like his two-way ability a lot.
Mhm.
Um, kind of a similar, you know, what is it? A high floor kind of player. So yeah.
All right. We'll get you out of here on these last two questions. So,
Okay.
5 years from now, I'm still doing this podcast because they can't find anybody at Locked On to replace me. Who is the non-Connor Bedard best player in the draft?
Oh, well, hmm,
He's like,
5 years from now, yeah. Shoot. So it's Michkov or Fantilli. Um, as a Ducks fan, I want it to be Fantilli. um, I'm gonna say Fantilli. He's the guy. He's just like that dynamic player is so hard to come by. Like I say, he's 6'2", but he skates like Jack Hughes. Like he's just so shifty, and he's got all the skill in the world. And I think his defensive game is underrated. And um, yeah, he's just a gem. And I think in most years he's the number one overall pick. It's just, this year he had, Connor Bedard in his draft. But I mean, if you go back 10 years, like he gets drafted number one in at least 5 of them, right?
Yeah,
So
I mean, you could say, yeah, he gets drafted in, first overall in majority of the drafts, other than
right.
like when there's like a guy like Connor Bedard in the draft. So yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's a pretty safe pick. So yeah, have fun with Fantilli. I'm not looking forward to like Fantilli on with McTavish on the wing or Fantilli with Zegras on the wing and McTavish as your second line.
Oh boy.
Yeah, or if you
Just
wanted to
don't.
just go all three
don't
down the
don't give me
middle,
hope, man.
you could do that too. Like, yeah, just be like, oh, I'm gonna have McTavish as my 3C. Like, cool.
Oh,
Anyway,
I mean, it'd be sweet if like Zegras is on the wing, you just have a dynamo top 6. Like, oof.
yeah, you could. Yeah, the
It's
flexibility it just gives you right there.
yeah,
So, yeah,
it's what's giving me hope right now and getting me through these dark days, right?
yep. I mean, rebuilds are built on hope. That's all you have. So, all right, last question: where in the draft does Tom Willander go?
So if you had asked this question in the middle of the season, I'd say like 30th, but I
Mhm.
think if you the athletic guys, the Wheelers and Pronmans, they're mocking him in like the 10 to 15 range. And I think um, I don't know if that's where he should go, but again, with the way GMs are drafting and putting such a premium on centers and defensemen, especially right-handed defensemen who can skate and do it all.
Yep.
I wouldn't be surprised to see him in 10 to 15 range. I personally mocked him to Buffalo at 13. I think he fit that system really well and be like. Can you imagine a pairing with a Darlene Willander pairing or a Power Willander pairing? I think that'd be dynamite, man. Like,
Ridiculous.
right?
And then just wait
Um,
till Eric Carlson goes to Buffalo too, just to kind of really put the all the Swedes. Yeah. No, I could see that. I was hoping he would slide to like 26,
well,
but you never know. So yeah.
you never know. That's honestly the reason
Mhm.
I singled him out to profile was because he's ranked anywhere from 20 to 40, and I'm like, oh, maybe the Ducks can get him at the top of the second round. Like that'd be an awesome, another defenseman in the pipeline. Not that we need more, but uh, but just watching him play and just knowing how drafts go, I'd have a hard time seeing him last past 20.
Mhm.
So, but I mean, I don't know, maybe maybe the Sharks could move up and get him. I think that's a guy that is worth it, to be honest with you. If you're looking for stability on the blue line,
Yeah.
I don't know if they have the pieces to do that, but like 26 plus another pick. But
Yeah.
I don't know, it might be worth it.
Well, that's the fun of the draft, right? You never know
Right.
how it shakes out. Patrick, you have said it all. Where can the people find you?
So you can find my writing at InsideTheRink.com or follow me on Twitter at New Era Ducks. I'm covering mostly Duck stuff, but I love covering prospects um, and just general NHL stuff. We got the Cup Finals coming up, so it's gonna be awesome.
I
Um,
think we can both safely say Vamos Gatos.
Vamos Gatos for sure.
All right. Thanks very much, buddy. We'll chat again with you soon. So
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. And like I said, I love the series you're doing here, and I love the guys you're highlighting. So because there's a lot of guys that don't get a lot of shine. So I love coming on and talking about guys like Tom Willander. Like it's really cool.
when you do 5 episodes a week, buddy, you got to fill the content. So
I
especially
get
when
it.
the team's
Yeah.
back.
All
So all right, we'll talk again soon, buddy.
right, I appreciate it. Have a good one.
All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed my conversation with Patrick. So, Willander, again, I think he's going to be maybe just out of reach for the Sharks. I think somebody at the end of the teens is going to definitely try to snag him there. But if he's there at 26, the Sharks, I think you're going to have a really, really interesting conversation about adding him. So, they've done a lot with the blue line. They added Havlid last year. I think Willander could be a great piece for them going forward as they continue to try to bulk up this blue line that desperately needs it. So they're still going to need that blue chip guy. But I think, again, just continuing to add pieces and see how it all shakes out is not the worst way to go with it as well. So, again, thank you to Patrick for coming on. Made his debut. Really fun guy to talk to off camera too. Big Star Wars fan as well. So, but thank you guys for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. Go check out one of the other great shows on the Locked On Network. Locked On Giants, looking pretty good. If you want to go check out the Locked On Golden Knights, Locked On Panthers, get a nice taste of how those teams are doing in the Stanley Cup, or any other great shows out there. So, again, follow the show wherever you get on any social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at Locked On Sharks. You can follow me on Twitter at MyFryhole. And until tomorrow, bye, friends.